line there as the booms start. And it's very narrow, very close there from Tideway Scullers School, who of course always have such a great reputation coming into these races. Staying in touch with the Imperial crew, we've already started to keeping quite a short sort of stroke there, just making sure they keep the pace up to maintain that early speed that they built. Tideway Scullers staying with them though.
I just feel shivers down my spine when those two crews came out of Temple Island, because you could see how close the bow side blade of the Tideway Scullers School crew was to the booms, and you just think, oh, tug on the wrong side of the rudder and you're going to be ending your race prematurely. We saw a couple of crews yesterday visit that first upright boom on the Buckinghamshire station a couple of times, expecting it at close quarters, and it is a race ender. But at the moment, both of these pairs, which are notoriously difficult to steer at the best of times, making good on their promise to produce us a fantastic race. And this semi-final really is quite absorbing. Even in the early stages, Imperial and Tideway Scullers going at it hammer and tongs here.
Absolutely. I mean, just saying about steering a pair, I absolutely, I mean, awe of anybody who takes on this course in a pair. I've tried to steer one many a time. Normally ended up visiting the bank one or two times. No damage done there anyway. But yeah, going back to this race, seeing Imperial really start to lengthen out. They are. Tideway Scullers staying with them, but they're edging out that distance. That's important now. They've lengthened the stroke out now as they come past the commentary booth here, keeping very nice and tall at the finish there as well, which is really important to make sure, because that's the important thing with pairs. Just want to make sure that you're both doing exactly the same thing, because one mistake and then you'll start to tip. It's such minute sort of differences between these two crews, but keeping nice and tall at the finish there, make sure they're sending it away with the most efficiency possible. Tideway Scullers staying with them though, but looks like Imperial just starting to edge it at these first third as they come into the regatta enclosure though. But yeah, like I say, this is two very competitive crews here, and it could be really exciting come towards finish.
Yeah, we can see Imperial mounting a charge, making sure that they have control of the race. It's always interesting to think about the psychology of both crews, whether or not Tideway Scullers are happy sitting half a length down on Imperial. A lot of crews actually prefer that. They prefer to be just in touch with the crew in front of them, and they're happy to mount a charge later on in the race. I suppose it depends if you negative split your races or if you choose to front load, get out fast, get out hard, and try and intimidate your opposition. But at the moment, neither crew really establishing control, but Imperial trying their best now to make sure that they are in the best possible position to move on in the last third of this semi-final of the championship pairs.
Yeah, they're maintaining that long and strong rhythm that they've got there, which is giving them the advantage over Tideway Scullers. Talking about sort of sitting on the edge of the Scullers, well, we saw that earlier in the aspirational lightweight singles between Edinburgh's Laura McDonald. She rode through Sarah Lewis. So this can happen as we come down to the further end of the course, but it looks like Imperial just using that form to keep that advantage over Tideway Scullers here in this championship pairs for the Redgrave Challenge Vars. Yeah, just comes through across the picture there. You can see just a bit of difference there. Obviously looking at Imperial, looking nice and long and strong. Tideway Scullers just keeping up with them. They've lengthened out as well, trying to attack the catch there, really coming out with those finishes as well. So this is very close actually, very close between the two crews.
Yeah, these camera angles can be a little deceptive sometimes, just watching Tideway Scullers make their way down the course. It's hard to know who is in the lead because these static cameras can only show us what their position illuminates. But at this stage, well, it looks to me like Tideway Scullers have mounted a bit of a charge here, Warren, and actually have rode down Imperial.
Well, what a fascinating race. Oh, looks that burst of about 20 strokes there has really paid dividends there. They've just rode all the way through Imperial there. Just, like you said, using that experience, just waiting for their moment to come, and it came just after regatta enclosure, just out of shot. And they've really mounted that charge there, and that's what's so important. Keeping that length, pulling away those finishes as they started to get their rhythm coming into that, and they've executed that to perfection.
Yeah, super racing from the girls from the Tideway Scullers School, looking like they will be progressing through to the final later on this afternoon. So we just saw the conclusion of race 3-4, the second semi-final of the championship pairs, and here we go with race 3-5. And this one, Nottingham University on the Berkshire station doing all the early running against Cole Porter's A on the Buckinghamshire station. Looking very impressive here, is he?
Yeah, they definitely look like they've pushed off much faster than Cole Porter's A have. I think they certainly look like the stronger double in this race, don't you think, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty fluid style of sculling there from the Nottingham duo. Just making their way down the course, but a storming start to establish control, and that can be so important at Henley Women's Regatta in this match racing environment. If you get out strong and you get out fast, you can then sort of take the race and dictate it from above. And the beauty of rowing is that you can actually see the people behind you, so you can watch every move that they make and respond in kin.
Yeah, and it's a good position to be in, obviously, when you're in front, but it just means that you can fully see, as Tom said, what's happening in the race, and you just know that you have the control over it, and it gives you a lot more power psychologically because you know that you're ahead of them, whereas in other things here, if you're running, you can't see who's behind you, so it's nice to be able to know fully that you are definitely ahead.
Absolutely, dictate the dynamic of this race. We shouldn't be at all surprised to see Nottingham University performing well. They were actually the winners of the lightweight double sculls category at the Bucks Regatta this season, although they've made one change to that crew, which won with Lucy Gilbanks, now partnering Nina Giambroni. Now, I remember the Giambroni twins from my time as a junior. They were a formidable force on the circuit. It's nice to see them plying their trade, still at the summit of club and student rowing. This duo are actually part of the gold medal winning lightweight quad at the 2017 Bucks Regatta, and then went on to race at the European University Championships. So no mugs, and showing so here, demonstrating their class and their style as they come down the course, and they've pretty much sewn this race up at the barrier, haven't they?
Yeah, they definitely are an obviously strong pair, and it's clear to see from the results they've been producing this year that they are one of the top competitors this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they go far in their finals later this afternoon. I think they're most likely to be one of the ones looking for those top few positions.
Just a reminder, this is the Sunday of the Henley Women's Regatta. It's finals day. This is where crews really turn up the heat on each other. Trophies are handed out. Dreams are made and shattered in equal measure on the straights of Henley. The Women's Regatta has become probably the world's premier all-female rowing event, and it is on the bucket list of most people to at least one time paddle down the famous Henley stretch, demarcated, of course, in the summer by those wooden upright booms, which so many crews choose to inspect at close quarters. I think they realise shortly after what a terrible idea that tends to be. But just watching this Nottingham University duo make their way down the course, they've taken the rate down a couple of pips and are enjoying their scull in the Henley sunshine. So just a couple of round-up results. Race 3-2-3 was the first semi-final of the championship pairs, and after a spirited start from Lady Eleanor Hollis, Leander Club rode them down to win by 2 lengths. And in the semi-final and the race preceding this one, the championship pairs was a win for Tideway Scullers School, again by 2 lengths over an Imperial College crew. Tideway Scullers, of course, having rowed half a length down pretty much the whole way down the course, and just choosing to turn up the gas, change gear and move away to win by an impressive 2 lengths. And we can just see here Nottingham University just proving too much for Southampton Cole Porters on the day. Very little that Southampton can do about this, despite the fact that this duo did actually race at Reading Amateur last weekend, making the C final in the women's double C category. So a bit of experience and a bit of form in the crew, but just coming up against a better boat on the day. So we'll move back to the start for what is a race that's really exciting me, actually, these next 2 races. The Junior 8, always look forward to watching juniors in action. It's an all-American affair today, Izzy, in race 3-2-6. Mount St. Joseph's A on the Berkshire station and Green Lake A on the Buckinghamshire station.
Yeah, I think this could be quite an exciting race, actually, because we watched their quarter-finals, was it yesterday? And so we saw all the American crews qualify, which was an impressive thing to see. And actually, I remember me and Tom commenting on the fact, just the strength of all the American crews. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top, actually, between these two, as they were hugely strong yesterday.
It's the beauty of doing mammoth commentary shifts. It's the one upside is that you do get to see the narrative of the regatta unfold in front of you. And certainly here, Green Lake looking very impressive as they come out of the shadows of Temple Island. Green Lake, obviously, a club crew in the USA. Club rowing, not that prevalent in the United States of America. Certainly nowhere near as substantial as it is here in the UK. And I remember whenever Green Lake come over to race at the Royal Regatta, they have to enter the Thames Challenge Cup instead of the Princess Elizabeth. But this is a junior crew from Green Lake looking very, very strong. You can see the emphasis on the finish of that stroke. Wow, really putting in some effort at that end. It's always interesting to see the contrast between UK and US crews in the way they row. But here, an all US affair, and it's Green Lake currently doing all the early running.
Yeah, it's a fantastic shot there, actually, to see the two crews going along like that. But it certainly looks like Green Lake are going to be pushing ahead all the way through this race. Nice again to see, as I know Tom likes, that they've all got their matching visors. Got some fluorescent yellows, which quite nice for us commentators because it means we can actually know who they are.
Cohesion on the head, cohesion in the brain. That's all I'm saying, Izzy. And right here, after a stunning start from Green Lake, it looks to me Mount St. Joseph's have recovered, composed themselves, and are right back in this race. Just coming past us, it seemed to me that every stroke Mount St. Joseph and the Berkshire Station were taking, they were creeping back on Green Lake, moving past the barrier, signalling around a third of the course gone. And we look like we have a really good race on our hands.
Yeah, I think this could be interesting. I'm not sure who I'd put a bet on to win this one, actually, because Green Lake certainly look like they could be overtaken.
Yeah, here we go. Nothing quite like seeing 2/8 tearing it up on the Henley course, is there? Beautiful, beautiful shots here. Illuminated, of course, by our static cameras on the banks and our drone in the sky, the flying spider that tears up and down the course and gives us such fantastic shots of all the crews throughout the weekend. And we can just see here Mount St. Joseph's, their namesake, mounting a charge here, trying to come past Green Lake. And I think having a bit of success.
Yeah, it certainly looks like they put a good push in there that has definitely made some difference, and they're just ever so slightly creeping further and further up on that Green Lake boat. I think they could potentially just push in front of it if they keep going how they are.
So that you can see that graphic on your screen. Mount St. Joseph's on the left-hand side, technically, of your picture, more like the top, and Green Lake in the yellow boat with the white kit. And this race beautifully poised as we come into the last third. Essentially, I suppose now, Izzy, this comes down to who has the mental fortitude, who has the ability to just say in their heads, right, we're happy sitting alongside you until about 20 strokes to go, and then we're leaving you behind.
Yeah, that's certainly the way it has to go. I mean, it's the most difficult part of the race. They're tired. Their legs are definitely going to be hurting by this point. So it's just really who can just keep on putting that extra bit of power down on the legs just to push their bow ball in front of the other boat.
I mean, I think Green Lake have responded again. A brilliant semi-final here in the junior eights. The lead hasn't really changed. Green Lake have had the lead pretty much from the word go, but Mount St. Joseph's have come and gone, come and gone, come and gone, trying to eat into that lead, and every time Green Lake have responded in kin. And here we go, both crews winding up as they come into the final 100 metres. Who essentially has got anything left in the tank here, anything left to give, so that they can stay the advances of their opponents.
I think it looks like from that camera shot there that Green Lake are just slightly ahead of Mount St. Joseph's, which I'm sure they'll be very happy with. But there's still a bit of time to play with, but I'm not sure that Mount St. Joseph are going to be able to push it back from there.
Green Lake, the rate has come up. The power has gone on. And I think, there we go, crossing the line. And that is a win for Green Lake. A very impressive win at that to see off the stern attentions of Mount St. Joseph, so we can move back to the start for another All-American affair. So we know that this trophy will be going overseas this year. It's Phillips Academy Andover A on the Berkshire Station, a crew I was very impressed with yesterday, and National Cathedral School of the USA on the Buckinghamshire Station, NCS. And they're just getting underway here.
Well, that's an extremely fast start from both crews there. Both looking very neat off the starting blocks.
Yeah, look at that. The cacophony of noise. The silence that greets the storm I think there's that moment of perfect serenity just before those eights leave the state boats, and then it just becomes noise, sweat, tears, blood, drive, energy. There's nothing quite like being on the start line of an eights race, and I can imagine it's quite the atmosphere there. At the start of Henley Women's Regatta, both these eights now leaving Temple Island, that huge, overwhelming structure you can see in the background of this shot, and it looks to me like Phillips Andover Academy on the Berkshire station are doing a bit of the early running here. They've got around a quarter of a length as they come out from behind Temple Island. Probably doing National Cathedral a disservice there. The crews are pretty much bang in line with each other.
Yeah, no, both looking very strong coming off the starting blocks and past the island there. I think this could be another race just like the one we've seen. I don't think either crew are going to be giving up easily on this. Oh, you can tell you did.
So Phillips Academy Andover just trying to get a hold of this race. The New England Interscholastic Rowing Association Regatta, this crew placed second. In the context of the UK, they don't know what that means, but here it's an all-American affair, so I reckon they'll probably have a better idea of what's going on than we will. They will know exactly how fast they are in comparison to the National Cathedral School.
I think from my perspective here, it certainly looks like Phillips Academy are certainly a lot smoother in their stroke and just sort of gliding quite easily across the water, whereas National Cathedral School just looks slightly more jerky, which I think that's why Phillips is just leading slightly.
Absolutely, and a bit more interesting trivia. Fans of the royal wedding, those who watched Meghan and Harry tie the knot, the energetic, inspiring Reverend Michael Curry, who gave that, I think memorable would be the best word, 50-minute long speech at the wedding. He is actually the presiding bishop at the Episcopal Church at the National Cathedral on the school grounds. So he is someone I'm sure who has prayed for the success of this National Cathedral School crew. But at the moment, they are not having it all their own way, are they?
No, Phillips Academy definitely seem to be pushing ahead here, and I think if I was to put a bet on it, I think I would go with Phillips at the moment, but there is still all to play for. There's not much space in between them. I think if National Cathedral School performed how Mount St. Joseph's did in the previous race and put that burst in, they could just sneak ahead.
Fantastic to see such support from crews from over the pond, making the trip to race in Henley at the Women's Regatta, and I'm sure a couple of these will be sticking around to enjoy the Royal in a couple of weeks' time, if not to compete in it. It's one of the premier events on any rower's bucket list. You can just see there on the right-hand side of your picture, Phillips Academy Andover. Straining, I think, that's probably the word I'd use to establish themselves as the dominant force in this race, but National Cathedral School haven't let them go, refusing to be beaten here. But so often we see a really engaging middle third of the race, and then for some reason one of the two crews just seems to lose not the will to live but the energy to perhaps respond. But here we go. I don't think this could be any better balance as we come into the final 200 metres here.
No, I think it looks like from this picture here though, Phillips Academy just have that slight bit more energy and spark just to keep their rate up and their power going up until that finishing mark, whereas National Cathedral School are just starting to tire slightly, I think.
Well, here we go, both crews winding it up for the line. Just waiting for that graphic to change. But we're moving back to the start for race. Oh no, we've got two races on the screen here. We've got the conclusion of race 327. We can see very little to choose between those two crews. My goodness me. So little to choose between those two crews as they come up towards the line.
No, that is close. Not even quite sure who's taking
I've
that
got
lead
absolutely
there.
no idea, Izzy. I have to say, we'll come back to you with a confirmed result on that one as and when we have it. What a fantastic race that was. I'll tell you what, those two crews are going to be absolutely knackered. Whoever makes it through has got a final to contend with later on as well. But we can see now, junior singles underway, race 3 to 8. We've got Phoebe Muir of Exeter Rowing Club on the Berkshire station, and Lauren Henry of Leicester Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. We can just see Phoebe of Exeter. She's moved out to about half a length lead as they left Temple Island at the quarter-mile mark, looking pretty relaxed, pretty composed. She's had a very good regatta, and Izzy, you made a good point earlier in that having commentated on quite a few of these races already, it is very interesting to see the narrative and actually watching athletes you saw yesterday compete again today, seeing how their style has changed, seeing how their tactics have changed, and actually how well they're performing against different opposition.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see actually the sort of drive they have even on the last day, because I mean everybody will have raced yesterday that's racing today and possibly done 2 or 3 races, so the fact that they're still going strong today, I have to say, is quite commendable to them. And the fact that they will potentially have a final after today, after this race.
Certainly looking like Phoebe Muir setting herself up well for a final appearance later on this afternoon. She has about a length and a half on her competition. Lauren Henry of Leicester Rowing Club. Just here the coaches cycling past our commentary booth.
Come on, Lauren, push it, don't look. You concentrate on your way.
Her coach, Lauren Henry's coach, instructing her to not look and to concentrate on her own race, which I think is sound advice, to be honest. You can only row your own boat. Your opponent's going to do whatever he or she chooses to do, and all you can do is try and row your own race and remain undistracted by what is an abundance of distractions on the Henley course: floating craft, pleasure cruisers, and a plethora of people of all shapes and sizes on the bank. But at the moment, Phoebe Muir, the dominant force in this semi-final of the junior singles.
Yeah, she definitely looked very relaxed as she went past us here up in the commentary box. She just seems to be kind of gliding up the river with some commendable pace, actually. But she's definitely a very strong athlete. I think she'll be doing well in the coming years.
I imagine she'll be looking to do well this afternoon. The coming years probably doesn't really come into it for her at the moment.
No, very true.
So race 328 making its way down the course. Phoebe Muir in complete control of her semi-final of the junior singles, setting up a meeting with one of 2 scullers in race 329, Angarad Broughton of Llandaff Rowing Club on the Berkshire station, and probably the standout competitor in the junior singles that I've seen so far, Georgina Dooley of Agecroft Rowing Club. You can see her there in shot on the bottom left-hand corner of your picture. Such a relaxed style of sculling, so long and strong. Her levers must be absolutely huge to be able to just propel the boat forward like that, and she's already got around a length on our opposition.
And they're only just past Temple Island, so to have that much of a lead in a single as well is really showing some strength there. She does certainly have an extremely long stroke compared to her opposition.
Well, as we watch these 2 scullers make their way down the course, we can see Phoebe Muir on the top right-hand side of your picture, just closing out her semi-final, and we can see Georgina Dooley dominating her semi-final at the moment, as we come to expect from a sculler of her pedigree. Just going to bring you a bit of news that we've got. We're just looking at some of the results that are coming through. Obviously, the race 326 was a win for Green Lake Crew in the first semi-final of the junior. 8's an excellent race that they won by 3/4 of a length over Mount St. Joseph's Academy. But race 327 now, this could be wrong on our screens. We're not always provided with the most up-to-date information, but our screens are saying race 327 was a dead heat between Phillips Academy Andover and National Cathedral School. A dead heat. I'm not quite sure what the implications of that are. I imagine it will be a re-row, but a dead heat is what we're being told here, which, if true, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. We've not seen that at all so far at Henley Women's. And it's not a good result for those two crews. They will not be happy with that.
Well, I imagine Green Lake are absolutely delighted if that's the case.
Well, yes, true.
Means that Green Lake, having won their semi-final, they can sit back, relax, enjoy some Henley sunshine, maybe even a glass of Pimm's, who knows how they prepare, and just watch that whoever they face in the final have to race an additional race that they weren't actually anticipating having to do.
I think on the screen there's a lovely shot of Dooley from Agecroft, just showing again her really long stroke and powering it down the course ahead of her opposition. I think she'll certainly be looking for one of the top place finishes in a final this afternoon.
You just wonder, looking at Miss Dooley racing for Agecroft today, has she ever rated above 28 in her life? Honestly, she just looks so relaxed. Every time I see her row, it's like, I can't quite describe it. It's how I used to paddle in training sessions, and yet for some reason she manages to achieve more boat speed than her competitors who are rating 4, 5, 6 pips higher than her. Remarkable horsepower from the Agecroft sculler, and it will take a brave man, I think, to bet against her not taking the win this afternoon in the junior singles category.